All right, so we do have a test this week, so let's review the whole unit. So I'm gonna do questions 21 through 26. Now, the first thing we gotta do when it says simplify your expression, that's gonna be the instructions on our homework. First thing I gotta do is make sure I have no parentheses. For 21 and 22, I don't have any parentheses. So like I said, the first thing I have to do when I'm combining my like terms, when I'm simplifying an expression, I must have no parentheses. Okay, so like I said, 21, 22, I don't have parentheses, but questions 23 through 26, I do. Now, once I don't have parentheses, I'm going to combine my like terms. Let me take a look at those that do have a letter first. So I'm looking at negative 30x and a positive 58x. It must have the same letter, which in this case it is, x. Now, I'm just going to combine my numbers, negative 30 plus 58. When the numbers have different signs, I subtract my values. So I'm going to subtract 58 minus 30, and I'm going to keep the sign of the large one, in this case, positive. So that gives me 28x. Like I said, I combine all my terms that do have a letter. That's what I want you guys to combine first. And then let me combine those that don't have a letter. So I'm looking at positive 1 and a negative 21. When my numbers have different signs, so in this case a positive and a negative, I subtract my numbers and I keep the sign of the large one. So it's going to be negative 20. Notice I subtracted my values and kept a negative because the negative was bigger. So my answer is 28x minus 20. If the number in front of x, or the number in front of the letter is a 1, I don't want you to write a 1. So in this case, if it was a 1 in front of the x, I don't want you to write 1x. I just want you to write x. In this case, it is not, but I'm saying if the number in front of the letter was a 1, just write the letter, don't write the number. All right, let's move on to question number 22. I don't have parentheses, so I'm just going to combine the terms that have a letter. So I see negative 90 plus 1. Okay, notice how the 1 in front of the P I ignored. I don't write it down, but I do consider a positive 1. So negative 90 and a positive 1, that gives me negative 89p. The signs are different, so I must subtract. Now let me take a look at those that don't have a letter. So I'm looking at 64 minus 35. Signs are different, so I must subtract. A large number is positive, so my answer would be positive. So I'm going to do plus 29. 64 minus 35 is 29. All right, so my answer is negative 89p plus 29. Let me switch to blue so we don't get confused when I zoom out. Let's take a look at number 23. First thing is no parentheses, right? Questions number 21 and 22, we didn't have parentheses, but now we do. So first thing I gotta do is get rid of parentheses. I'm gonna multiply the number on the outside of the parentheses to the terms on the inside. That negative 9 has nothing to do with parentheses, so let me just write it as a negative 9. The number outside of the parentheses is 2, so I'm gonna go 2 times x. So I'm going to call that 2x. And then 2 times a negative 10, I'm going to call that negative 20. So first thing is get rid of parentheses. Then combine your like terms. When I look at terms that have an x, the only one is positive 2x. I don't have to write the plus sign at the very beginning, just positive 2x. And then terms that don't have a letter, I see negative 9 and a negative 20. Signs are the same, so I must add, keep the sign. So my number will be negative 29. So my answer is 2x minus 29. Type it all together, no spaces in between. Looking at number 24, get rid of parentheses, multiply the 3 to the terms on the inside. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times a positive 6m gives me positive 18m. And then at the very end, there's a plus 7m. That 7m has nothing to do with parentheses. Okay, so now let me combine my like terms. When it comes to terms with the letter, I see 18 plus 7. 18 plus 7 is 25, so I'm going to call this 25m. When I see terms that don't have a letter, I only see this positive 3. So let me call this plus 3. So 25m plus 3. I cannot combine those terms because one of them has a letter and the other one does not. Or else to not get confused when I zoom out again, let me change this to red. So number 25 and 26, I'm going to move into 2 parentheses. First thing I must do is get rid of parentheses. So let me multiply 10 times 1 and 10 times a negative 10. So that gives me 10 minus 100n. For the second parentheses, let me go 5 times a negative 10. So that's a negative 50. And then 5 times a positive 3n. That gives me positive 15n. So I got rid of parentheses. First thing I want us to combine are those terms that have a letter. So I'm looking at negative 100n plus 15n. When the signs are different, I must subtract my numbers. So 100 minus 15, I must subtract my numbers and keep the sign of the large one. So I'm going to call this negative 85n. Right, 100 minus 15, and I kept the sign of 100 because 100 is bigger than 15. Now, when it comes to terms that don't have a letter, I see 10 minus 50. Okay, signs are different, so I must subtract, keep the sign of the large one. So let me call this minus 40. That's it. Now, those two I cannot combine because one of them has a letter, the other one does not. Lastly, let's take a look at number 26. Let me get rid of parentheses. On the first one, let me multiply the 5 to my numbers on the inside. And that's going to give me 45 plus 25b. For the second parentheses, let me distribute the negative 4. So that's going to give me negative 12 minus 16b. Now let me combine those terms that do have a letter. 25b minus 16b. 25 minus 16 is positive 9. So I'm going to call this 9b. Then let me take a look at those that don't have a letter. So I'm looking at 45 minus 12. 45 minus 12 is 33, positive 33. So let me write this as plus 33. And that's it.